Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to 123 Breathe and Relax. My name is Carolina White. I will be your presenter this evening. I'm going to go ahead and get started now because I want to respect everybody's time. I know it's challenging to come to some of these evening webinars, and so I want to respect your time and go ahead and get started. So you are at 123 Breathe and Relax. Here is a little bit about me. I have two wonderful teenage daughters. I have a dog named Marley, and my absolute favorite food is sushi. And in the last, what is it, almost 6 months that we've been on quarantine, I have not eaten any sushi, which is probably the longest I've ever gone in my whole life. So that is a challenge, but I'm super excited to be here with you guys tonight. I have a little bit of housekeeping I want to go through before I start the webinar. I am here actually with my good friend and coworker, Adrienne Gilliard. She is going to be manning the chat box for me this evening, or the questions box. So please make sure if you are going to type a question in there, she's going to try to keep up with everybody's question and respond to everybody. But if for some reason we don't get to you, pay attention at the end where I give my email, and feel free to email me at any time if you have any additional questions or concerns. So many of you who know me now already know that I do speak Spanish, but because Adrienne is manning the questions box, please make sure that you are writing in English in that questions box so she can understand and respond to you. So the questions box is on the icon, should be maybe to your right there. If you click on that questions icon on the toolbar, you're gonna use the send or drop down menu to select your recipient, and that can be either everyone, which would be all participants, and they would see your message in the chat pane, or you can do it to the organizers only, which would be Adrienne and I. However, I probably won't be seeing it. It'll just go to Adrienne. She can get any questions to me if she can't answer them herself. And then if you have an individual attendee that you would like to write a message to, you can do that as well. Just select their name and they will receive it as a private message. There is also a handouts icon on the toolbar. If you are interested, and I hope that you are, in downloading those handouts, you just tap the icon, select the file to download. There should be 3 of them on there, and it will download automatically. And then we've got the hand raising icon, which you can raise or lower your hand by clicking that icon on the control panel. If we do miss your hand being raised, which is very likely, please just type your question into the chat box or the questions box. I believe for your end, it's the questions box. Adrienne, would you like to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everybody. I'm manning the chat box. I'm looking at all of the hellos. It's so good to see so many of you showed up tonight, and we hope you really enjoyed this training.
Yes, thank you, Adrienne. I really appreciate your help with this. Before we move on, I do want to make sure that you know that all ELC Broward trainings are for in-service only. So your training certificate will be emailed to you within 24 hours and sent to the email that you entered on your registration. Okay, so make sure that you are watching this through that registration. In order to be marked as attended, you must log on to the computer or download the GoToWebinar app on your phone. Just calling in is not going to register your attendance, so you will not receive a certificate or be marked as attended. If you cannot see the screen, then we also can't see you, which means it won't count for you being here. And then starting July 1st, all trainings will have a pre-test of 3 questions to answer when you register, which I'm sure you all already did for this training. And then upon completion of the training, a post-test of 3 questions and a training survey of 5 questions will also launch. So please make sure to complete all of that information, and feel free to make any recommendations on that survey, because we use that in order to better our webinars for you. All right. So if I was doing this training in person, I would be wearing my favorite greeting apron, and I would have a huge smile on my face, and I would ask you, how would you like to be greeted individually as you come into the room, or I would walk around to you. So just go ahead and type into the questions box or the chat box which one of these would be your choice on how you would like to be greeted. Would you like a fist bump, a high five, or a hug? Go ahead and type that in, and Adrian will let me know what she's seeing.
I see a fist bump and a hug. I see a lot of hugs. I think we all need hugs right now. We're missing that physical contact, so I see a lot of hugs.
Absolutely. I would love to give a hug right now.
I know.
Sending you, Adrian, and everybody out there some virtual fist bumps, some virtual high fives, and definitely some virtual hugs. So again, thank you so much for being here tonight, and let's go ahead and begin. So our training objectives are that the participants will receive an introduction on how to implement conscious discipline techniques and skills in order to constructively respond to conflict in the classroom. These skills will promote a peaceful inner state in children, and from this state, children are free to learn, cooperate, and help each other to be successful. Participants will also be able to determine what a routine and a ritual is and implement these two concepts in their classroom to have an effective learning environment. I'd like to start off with this quote here by Chaim Ganot. It's called Misbehavior and Punishment. Misbehavior and punishment are not opposites that cancel each other. On the contrary, they breed and reinforce each other. Punishment does not deter misconduct. It merely makes the offender more cautious in committing his crime, more skillful in escaping detection. When a child is punished, he resolves to be more careful, not more honest or responsible. So I want you to go ahead and keep that in mind as we discuss some of the ideas that conscious discipline brings forth. Conscious discipline is an emotional intelligence program that consists of brain smart strategies for responding rather than reacting to life events. And that's the key there, responding rather than reacting. Through responding, conflict moments are transformed into cooperative learning opportunities. This is a research-based program. It's proven to increase academic achievement, decrease problem behaviors, and improve the quality of relationships. So again, we're talking student to student, teacher to student, parent to child, teacher to parent, and coworker to coworker. If you look down at the bottom, that is the website for conscious discipline. I highly recommend you take a snapshot of that. It is a really great website that gives you tons of resources for free. You just need to create an account. And there's lots of printable things that you can get off of there. There's courses that you can take. Some of them do have a charge, but many are free. So I highly recommend that. So the three core components of conscious discipline are safety, connection, and problem solving. When we talk about safety, we're really talking about self-regulation. This enhances the adults and children's ability to recognize and manage physiological and emotional upset. So it's a really important part of conscious discipline to be able to be attuned with yourself and with others. Connection would be creating that compassionate school family culture, and this motivates adults and children's willingness to engage in healthy relationships and help each other to be successful and change perceptions about conflict. Problem solving, we're looking at it as resiliency. So through changing our response to conflict and upgrading social emotional skills, we would boost the adults and the children's ability to adapt to changing situations. Conscious discipline is as much for adults as it is for the children. So here are the 7 powers of self-control. This allows teachers to draw from within themselves to become proactive instead of reactive in conflict moments. They create a peaceful state. It is an ability to embrace conflict as a teaching opportunity instead of viewing it as a disruption to learning. And you're going to hear me say that a lot this evening. That is a really important part of conscious discipline, changing the way that we look at conflict. So some of those 7 powers are the power of perception. No one can make you mad without your permission. The power of unity. We are all in this together. The power of attention. What you focus on, you're going to get more of. So that's a really important one. Power of free will. The only person you can make change is yourself. The power of love, seeing the best in others and assuming positive intent from everyone. Power of acceptance. The moment is as it is. And power of intention. Conflict is an opportunity to teach. The 7 basic skills of conscious discipline we want every teacher to have, as well as every child to be taught, are composure. So a teacher should become the person they want their students to become. We all see teachers or people who are yelling at their students to be quiet and stop yelling in the classroom, right? So we want to make sure that we are modeling the behavior we want to see. Encouragement, build that school family, connection, and belonging primes the brain for a willingness and engagement. So that is a huge part of conscious discipline, is that connection, relationship building piece. Assertiveness, saying no and being heard and setting limits respectfully. Something else about conscious discipline that's really awesome is that it is as much for the victims as it is for the aggressor. So if you have 2 children and one child is being aggressive with another, conscious discipline also really focuses on that victim and teaching them how to speak up for themselves and how to teach others how they want to be treated. Choices is next. So with choices, you build self-esteem and willpower. Positive intent, which is creating teaching moments when there is conflict. Empathy, which is teaching children to manage their emotions, and it teaches personal responsibility and self-control. And then consequences, helping children learn from their mistakes by seeing their mistakes as learning opportunities. This is a Tom Herner quote that I always feel has a lot of impact with this webinar. If a child doesn't know how to read, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to swim, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to drive, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to behave, we punish. Why can't we finish the last sentence as automatically as we do the others? Keep that in mind as we go through this webinar, because I think that's something that's so crucial, that we have to really change the way that we're looking at behavior and discipline. So we want to make sure that we break down discipline strategies so that children learn actually how to behave in socially appropriate ways. Adrian, you good over there? Any questions?
Hi, no questions, but I had one comment that says, please reinforce this part because it's really important for the teachers.
Absolutely. Which part here? The top?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So again, we want to make sure that we're looking at behavior and punishment differently, that we want to be able to teach children how to behave in those socially appropriate ways. And I'm going to hope that through this webinar, you'll see some strategies and some tools you can put in your toolbox in order to do so. Okay, so behavior is communication. All behavior is a form of communication. We see this with babies, right? We react accordingly. When an infant begins to cry, we pick the infant up and we're trying to figure out, is the baby hungry? Is she wet? We're trying to figure out what that child needs because that child is communicating a need to us. So the challenge is holding on to that belief as children mature, because as they get older, we begin to see that as disobedience, disrespect, or defiance. So instead of trying to discern it, we're just trying to stop it, right? We want to stop their behavior. And we're often ignoring unmet needs or missing skills when we do that. So children who are hitting or kicking are not doing so to push your buttons. There is a reason behind it, and we just need to figure out what that reason is. Are their needs being met? Are they hungry, scared, cold? Is there a language delay or some type of barrier? We want children whose needs, we want to reinforce here that children whose needs are not being met, they cannot learn, right? So a child that is hungry is not going to be able to learn from you because they're just focused on how their belly is grumbling. Keep that in mind, that we want to try to look at that a little bit differently than how we've been typically taught to do so. So here we look at behavior versus communication. I just took a common behavior And I wanted to show you some of the communication that the child is receiving based on the adult responses. So on the top left corner, I have there, the child snatches a toy from another child, right? That is a common behavior that we often see in our classrooms. And that child is telling us that they want to play with that toy, right? If the adult response you see there in red on the left side of your screen is it's not nice to grab from others, then that implication that the child is hearing, you are not nice for wanting the toy. In green, if the adult says gentle touches, then the child hears, oh, I can take the toy gently. If the adult says, you know the rules about snatching, now you're going to sit on the bench for recess, then that child hears, wanting a toy is a punishable act. But if you look here at the purple, you wanted to play with the toy. When you want a turn, you say, may I have a turn with the toy, please? Then that child hears, oh, saying, may I have a turn with the toy, please, is an acceptable way to get my needs met. All right, so that's kind of the way you're changing the way that you're speaking to the children. So you're really using that moment as a teachable moment so that they can understand, oh, if I just say it this way, then maybe I can have a turn with the toy. This brings us to the ACT, to teach cooperation. So the ACT. The letters at the top are blue, red, and green, and they match their definition of their acronyms below. So A stands for acknowledge. Again, behavior is communication. It is super important to understand that communication behind the behavior so that we can try to transform it from a socially unacceptable form of communication to one that is acceptable, safe, and healthy. So first, we acknowledge the child's feeling or desire. So again, if we use that same situation, little Johnny snatches a blue car away from Timmy, right? And you would acknowledge that, oh, Johnny, you wanted the blue car. Or you could say, if the child is looking angry, you are feeling angry. Next, you communicate the limit. You may not snatch the blue car out of Timmy's hands. It's not safe. And then the T stands for target. You're going to target acceptable alternatives. You may ask Timmy if you can play with the car, or you can play with the red car. What is your choice? The child makes a choice and then you celebrate it. You did it. You made a choice to play with the red car. High five, right? So that is a nice little example of a way that we can communicate differently in order to teach cooperation and to teach them the appropriate ways to behave. This is something that I have placed in your handouts. There is also a little script. So that's a script in itself. And then there's also another script that you'll see that comes with that. So that's something that you can print out, keep on a clipboard near you, because it does take time to change the ways that we communicate, right? We're very used to communicating a different way. So this is something that's great to even shrink down and laminate. And you can put this on a little keychain around your waist or around your bracelet if you have one of those rubber bracelets that you add little tabs to, so that you can always have that handy and use it as a guide or a script. Okay, so we're going to look at the traditional model of discipline, which is founded on rules that are upheld through rewards and punishments. So the goal is to obtain obedience, and I'm guessing that the majority of us were kind of raised in this traditional discipline view. I know I was. So the three main points are that it is possible to control others through environmental manipulations, rules govern behavior, and conflict is a disruption in the learning process, right? We're trying to avoid conflict, especially as teachers. We don't want the interruption. We don't want to deal with the conflict. And so that is going to be part of our traditional discipline view. Right here, we've got some of the beliefs and next to the value that it teaches. So we're going to look at them side by side. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to read some of the darker pink ones. So the first one, it is possible to make others change. So in traditional discipline, the belief is that you can make others change. And the value it teaches is that the failure to make others change equals failure on the teacher's part. Okay? When we succeed in making others behave, we demonstrate power and authority, right? When we're having a moment of conflict in the classroom as the teacher and we succeed in making a child behave, then we're demonstrating our power and authority. And then the value that teaches is power comes from overpowering people. This is the same. It's not just with teachers and students. It's the same with adults, right? It's any form of interaction and relationships that we have in our life, this can go with. And then if others would change or do as we say, we could be happy and peaceful. And the value it teaches are we are justified in blaming others and they are responsible for our behavior. Now let's take a look at conscious discipline because it's built on 3 completely different premises. First one is controlling and changing ourselves is possible and has a profound impact on others. Number 2, connectedness governs behavior. And by connectedness, we mean relationships, right? And number 3, conflict. Again, conflict is an opportunity to teach. So now we'll look at some of those beliefs of conscious discipline next to the value it teaches ourselves and others. Here I'll just read a couple of the light pink rows. We are in charge of ourselves, and the value it teaches is we can become the person we want to be. When things don't go our way, we will seek solutions. The value it teaches is we are responsible for our feelings and actions. Our choices impact others. And lastly, conflict is an essential part of life. And the value it teaches is conflict and mistakes present us with the opportunity to learn a missing skill or let go of a limiting belief. And I really love that one. If we just see conflict in a different light, we can approach it so differently. So really, if we see it as an opportunity to learn or let go of a limiting belief, it completely changes the way you deal with conflict in your life. So here we'll look very briefly at the 2 systems side by side. So as far as motivation goes, for traditional discipline, the motivation is reward and punishment, right? Conscious discipline, it's connection and contribution. When you're looking at the foundation for traditional discipline, it's rules. And for conscious discipline, it's community building. The goal for traditional discipline is obedience. And the goal with conscious discipline is to create problem solvers. And that's really important right there. So in order to activate our brilliance, we must be able to breathe. And here's where the title of this webinar comes into play. Did you know that breathing is our largest system for waste removal? So this cleansing happens on the exhale part of the breath, so the breath that comes out of your mouth. The exhale must be longer than the inhale. The air we breathe in brings oxygen to every single cell in our body. Our brain actually requires 25 to 40% of that oxygen that we breathe in order to function properly. So in order to get enough oxygen to our brain and all those other cells, we need to make sure that we're breathing correctly. If your diaphragm is not moving, your brain is not fully engaged. And if your brain is not engaged, then you will be reactive instead of responsive. So we all know we've had a moment where we're scared or there's a conflict that's very intense. We may not realize it, but our breathing moves up to our chest and it becomes very shallow and very rapid, right? That's our fight or flight. So we want to make sure that we are being very conscious of our breathing so that we can keep our brain engaged. Adrian, any questions so far? I don't want to miss anything as I move on. I know I'm trying to quickly, we don't have a lot of time.
No, there are no questions.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so we want to be able to relax, focus, and breathe. So being able to relax is something that needs to be done as an adult, and we need to teach that to our children. And it has to be done on a regular schedule to block those accumulative nature of stress. Being able to focus, turning into the body to recognize early warning signs of anger is a prerequisite to anger management, right? We know we need to know the things that trigger us when we're starting to feel triggered and be able to back it up so that we don't get to that point where we are just reacting and we do things we regret. And then being able to breathe. The first thing that happens under stressful situations, like I mentioned a little earlier, is that you hold your breath or you start taking short breaths. Therefore, breathing Really breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth is an antidote to stress. And that's just proved in the fact that yoga and meditation and mindfulness all involve that type of breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So in your handouts, you're going to see some of these conscious discipline calming activities, and it does describe in the handout how you do each one, but we're going to go ahead and do some here together. We're going to start with the star. All of these techniques encourage taking 3 deep belly breaths, which helps to shut off that fight or flight or freeze response in the body. We start off here with the star, which stands for smile, take a deep breath, and relax. So do it with me. Put a smile on your face, take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and relax. So we start with that smile because smiling actually releases endorphins, which help you to feel better and happier and more positive. We want to encourage that belly breathing, and that's where the tummy goes out when the air goes in, and the tummy goes in when the air comes out of your mouth. We also want to remind children to learn to exhale slower than they inhale, right? So we want it to be a slow inhale and an even slower exhale. Moving on here, we've got the drain. So in the drain, you would extend your arms out, your fists would be tight, your palms would be facing down, your hands are like in the form of a fist, and you kind of pretend that your arms are faucets, right? You tighten your arms, your muscles, the shoulders, and your muscles in your shoulders and your face, and you take a deep breath in through your nose and drain by exhaling slowly, making a shh sound, and you release and relax all your muscles, open your hands, and just let that stress drain out. Then we have the balloon. So the balloon involves you placing your hands on top of your head, interlacing your fingers, breathing in through your nose as you raise your arms like you're inflating the imaginary balloon, and then you release the air in the balloon by slowly pursing your lips and exhaling slowly. So if you can't see me, but I do have an example coming up in a little video, which you'll see your hands just kind of go up and then you let yourself kind of deflate while you make that sound with your mouth. And lastly, we have the pretzel. So I included a picture of this little boy that I found doing the pretzel so that you can kind of see, because it does make it a little harder to explain without a visual. But you would basically stand up, cross your ankles, you cross your right wrist over your left, turn your hands so that your palms are facing the floor, then put your palms together and interlace your fingers. Bend your elbows out and gently turn your hands out and toward your body until they are resting on the center of your chest. Then you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, breathe in deeply, inhale, and then exhale as you kind of let your body relax. So I'm going to show our first video, and be patient with me because this is my first time really doing this on this platform. So I hope that it works. Again, we can say calm down to our students until we are blue in the face, but until we teach them how to calm down and what it looks like to calm down, they're really not going to understand. So this video I chose because it does a really great job of showing some of those ways that I mentioned and how you can teach your students to begin the calming process. I used to do this at circle time. I would choose one of those and introduce it for a full week. And then once they knew the star really well, the star went up into our safe place, which we'll talk about in a little while. And then the next week I would introduce the drain. And once they knew all of those calming techniques, then at circle time, we would choose one and do it every day. So it becomes ingrained as part of their daily process. Okay, let me start this video for us. Adrienne, any questions before I start the video?
There are no questions.
Okie dokie. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope that you were able to hear it and see it. Give me 1 second. I really love that video because it shows you how you can include the children in the learning process and how they can connect with each other while they're practicing these breathing techniques. We're going to learn or talk a little bit more about connection in a minute and how important it is for the relationship building in our classroom.
Okay. I have a question.
Sure.
It says, if I have a child and he does not behave well, and we do have behaviors, can I reward with a sticker?
Again, it's really up to you how you decide to do that. I personally wouldn't choose to reward with a sticker, but if that's what you need to do and that's working for you at the moment, I'm not going to say don't do it. I know that it's challenging when you have a lot of behaviors in the classroom, and if that sticker is working for you, I often tend to see that the stickers work very briefly, and then the sticker either gets rolled off or falls off, and it really doesn't play a role. The idea is really to get them to do that internal fire, and by building those relationships with you and the children and with the children with each other, they will tend to want to behave better, but they also do need to be taught the appropriate ways to behave. And if you want to email me specifically after, I can definitely send you some good strategies and ideas you can use instead of the stickers.
We have quite a few questions about what you use instead of stickers and what they can do with infants and toddlers.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? We do have some strategies coming up. So why don't we all continue, and then we can go ahead, and towards the end I'll have questions again. And if those are still questions, then we can go from there, because I'm going to discuss some of those strategies coming up now.
Okay.
Thank you, Adrienne. Okay. So how can you teach a child to inhale and exhale, right? It's not very easy, as you've maybe tried to blow a child's nose and they blow out of their mouth, right? Depending on the age of the child, it can be a little bit challenging. So I like them to visualize smelling a flower and exhale while they blow a pinwheel, but it's not enough to just visualize it with children. So here I have a strategy that's super easy to make. I made this with items from the dollar store. It is just a pinwheel I bought at the dollar store. The first side on the left is going to be the front with the pinwheel on it. And then it's got just a fake flower, a rose, and I attached it with that purple rubber band. Another thing you can do is add a couple of essential oil drops so that the flower can have a smell, anything to kind of get them excited about using it. So it's a super easy to make breathing tool to help teach those children who may have a hard time with inhaling and exhaling. It's very easy and very inexpensive to make yourself so that you don't have to buy one. Anyway, I wanted to make sure to show that to you because it's a great tool to use. So let's think about the relationships we have with others, in this case, our students, right, as emotional bank accounts. We want to make frequent deposits, and deposits are always a positive, right? If you're thinking about your financial bank account, the more deposits you make, the better, right? That's a positive thing. So looking at the images above this piggy bank here gives you some ideas of things that you can do to really make deposits in those relationship bank accounts or emotional bank accounts. So having empathy, a child that approaches you and maybe their dog passed away. So you showing that affect and really getting down on your knees and talking to them about their pet and asking them and showing interest, showing that empathy really creates connection. Some rituals, and we'll talk about rituals in a little bit, will help with that a lot. Just playing, right? So many teachers are so caught up in like the management of the classroom that there's not a lot of time to sit in dramatic play center and play with the children. That is an actual relationship builder when you can do that. Giving them time and attention, sending positive notes home. Those are all ideas or examples and ways you can deepen your connection, which is so important. So when your bank account has plenty of those deposits, there is the ability to make a withdrawal, which you would typically be like a correction or redirection, a correction of behavior. So you want to keep in mind that any of those interactions, the ratio needs to be about 5 to 1. So for every 5 positive interactions, when you have a negative one or when you're redirecting or correcting behavior, that's going to really take 5 of those positive relationship builders out. So you want 5 positive interactions to save up for every 1 withdrawal. So this idea can be used with all of our relationships, right? Even child to child. That's why we want to encourage children to create these positive relationships in some of the I love you rituals that we'll be talking about soon. When there is conflict, we can use the following strategy. So here we have the time machine. This is a strategy from conscious discipline. You'll see on the left here of this slide, there is a teacher walking or coaching the children through this particular time machine strategy. But I also included the time machine there to the right so that you can see what the children are kind of stepping on. You do not need to have one of these. They are rather large and they're expensive, but you can create one yourself that you can put on the ground with little footprints that the children can step on, or you can just use it as a guide and have the children be coached by you on how to do it. So I'm going to briefly go through it, but this is also in your handouts so that you can see like basically a script of how to go through this conflict resolution time machine. So the teacher would basically see that there's a conflict and she comes over and says, okay, I see that we have some conflict. Let's roll back time and work this out. Even rolling back time, you kind of move your hands while they're in a fist motion around each other and have the children do that. You want them physically involved in this activity. Then step 2 is that the children are involved are asked, are you willing to solve the problem so that everyone in the class can learn helpful ways? If they are willing, then the victim would stand on the I don't like it side of the mat, and the aggressor would stand on the other side. And they start at the very end of the mat where you see that it says, are you willing? That's where they start off. If willing, the victim stands, just mentioned that. So step 3, you're going to be a star, and now we know what that means. Stop, take a deep breath, smile, take a deep breath and relax, right? So everybody's going to do that facing each other. You're going to wish each other well, your hand on your heart, and then you put your hands out in front of you to wish each other well. And then the teacher will begin to coach the children to use some of those helpful words. So you're going to have the victim speak first using the sentence starter that's printed there on time machine. And it says, I don't like it when you blank, please blank. Typically what we so often do, and I've done this for many years when I was teaching, I don't like it when you push me, please stop, right? This is a little bit different. So we're saying, I don't like it when you push me. Next time, please say excuse me. So you're actually teaching the victim to teach the aggressor how they want to be treated, which is really important for children to learn. So you're going to help those children reframe those thoughts to show them how they want to be treated instead of just saying, stop it. Okay, we teach phrases like say, next time say, move please, instead of pushing me. And then you're going to have them do a connection to repair that bond so that there's no hard feelings. So in the picture, you can see the children look like they're about to maybe shake hands. So she might have, or he might have said, I don't like it when you push me. Please just ask me to move. And then her role would be to say, okay, I can do that. And then the teacher will ask, how can you show each other that you forgive each other and that you're still friends? And they can choose to do a handshake, a hug, a high five, whatever their choice is in order to show that that connection has been repaired. So again, this is in your handout section, and anything that you see me introducing here, you can always go onto YouTube, type it in, and you can actually see videos of this taking place. Something else I want you to notice about this image is that the children in the class are sitting around in a circle. So this is almost like in the middle of a circle time. And so the other children are also learning how to resolve conflict by watching these two go through it. I have here a short video because I want you to see some conflict resolution in the younger children. So it's definitely more teacher involved, but it is a beginning to teaching those same types of words. Give me 1 second and I'm going to start this video. Okay, so you see how the teacher plays a pretty active role in that conflict resolution with the toddlers, but it's really helpful and it gives them that beginning vocabulary in order to start teaching each other how they want to be treated, which is really wonderful. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about routines and rituals. In keeping with the importance of connection and building our school family, routines and rituals play a really important role in that. So there is a difference between rituals and routines. Routines are essential for young children. They are the manner by which young children tell time, learn to predict what will happen next. They feel empowered to tackle tasks. Routines add predictability and consistency to the classroom. The daily routine, for example, your visual schedule that's displayed in pictures in many of the classrooms that I've visited around Broward County, those are absolutely essential for young children to be able to predict, to see what's going to happen next. It helps them to feel safe and have that consistency and predictability. Rituals, on the other hand, are not routines, right? Routines have predictability as their goal. Rituals have connection as their goal. And again, we know that the importance of connection is that relationship building. Rituals are the most important part of creating a school family. They soothe the lower centers of the brain, which are the centers that deal with those survival instincts, right? That fight or flight response. So rituals actually produce a calming effect in children. This means that children count on a specific thing happening at a specific time in a specific way. As you and your children create those rituals for your classroom, you want to make sure that they are ritualized. And by that, I mean that they occur in the same location at the same time and for that same reason of connection. They must occur day after day. And that way it'll establish trust. And that trust is really essential for healing and hurting children who have not yet learned that the world is a safe place and adults can be helpful and trusted to guide them through that world. So really want you to consider using and implementing some rituals. We know that rituals are expression of unity. They are sacred spaces designed for togetherness and connection. Holiday rituals, for example, like gathering on Thanksgiving, bonds the family in gratitude. Birthday rituals that many of us participate in, like preparing a favorite meal, honor and connect us. We know that all cultures create rituals, and school family rituals must be authentic expressions of togetherness and joy. So here I have some top 10 suggested rituals, and I got all of these out of this book here, the yellow book that I'm showing you called I Love You Rituals. This is also by Dr. Becky Bailey. She is the founder of Conscious Discipline, like I mentioned before. This book is actually phenomenal because it gives you a bunch of different I Love You rituals and things that you can use in order to boost that brain potential and encourage that family, the school family that we're talking about. Here highlighted in black, I've chosen 3 of those that I'm going to go over because they're my favorites. They're the ones that I used when I taught VPK for so many years. I just want to discuss them briefly with you. So any of you who have ever taken this training live from me would see me looking something like this, right? I mentioned earlier that under normal circumstances, if you were to take this training with me live, I'd be wearing this apron and I would go around and ask you with a huge smile on my face, how would you like to be greeted? And you would choose one of those images that you see there on my apron. We've got the handshake, a thumbs up, a smile, a hug, a high five, and a fist bump. Now I taught VPK, so those are the older kids, and I had various images. If you're teaching little ones, toddlers to maybe just low 3s, you may want to just limit it to 3 items that they can choose from. And then as you see, as time progresses, you can add more to it. But just for the younger kids, we want to keep the choices a little bit more narrow. So as you greet the students, you're going to notice that body language. It provides you that opportunity to assess those children who are coming in primed for a day of optimal learning or who might benefit from a little bit of extra attention and connection, right? So you select a place in your class where you stand every morning to greet the children, send that verbal and nonverbal message of, hello, I'm so glad you're here today, right? That's what we're sending when we do this. And the props like the greeting apron, or if you don't want to have an apron, you can create a poster or hold a plate. Those type of props offer the children a choice about how they would like to be greeted. So we don't always love to be touched. So maybe you have a choice on there like I do, it's just a smile or a thumbs up, right? I don't necessarily have to touch you, but I am giving you that eye contact. I'm smiling, I'm putting my thumb up, and we're having a moment of connection. So that's the idea. And we want to make sure that we provide choices that are comfortable for our students. The next I Love You ritual is the kindness tree. So each time a kind act occurs, you simply attach a heart or a sticky note, whatever you've chosen to do, to the kindness tree to represent kindness occurring in your classroom, or if this is your house, you can do it at home. So we're trying to focus on kind and helpful acts, operating on the powers of attention. Remember, what you focus on, you get more of. So we want to make sure that we bring attention to those acts of kindness that we're seeing. We also want to focus on that unity. We're all in this together. Notice that on the hearts here on the tree that I've selected for the image, there are no names on those hearts. It's simply our class coming together to do as many acts of kindness as we can during the day. And then we're also focusing in on love and seeing the best in others and trying to be our best to the people in our school family. So we can use this kindness tree to recognize and celebrate acts of kindness in our school family or in our home. Another awesome thing about the kindness tree is you can count how many hearts you have at the end of the day. You can set up a goal to have, if you had 10 hearts today, maybe tomorrow our goal is going to be to have 12 hearts. At the end of the day, you can have a person's job be the heart counter. So there's so many things that you can do to implement math and other things with our kindness tree as well. Another one of my favorites is right here, the Wish Well ritual. So the Wish Well board provides a visual way to aid children in wishing each other well. Preparing this is pretty simple. You can use a pizza tin or a cookie sheet if you want the images to be placed on magnets, or you can use a laminated poster and have Velcro on it with the visuals. However you choose to do it is completely fine. I've seen many different ones. This is one option or one idea. So you just basically place a magnet on the back of each picture. You have all the pictures around the heart that's in the middle. When a child is absent or moving to another school or is in need of support for any other reason, you would place that child's picture inside the heart in your wish well board. And then you invite the class to wish that child well by placing their hand on their heart, inhaling, exhaling, and saying the words, "We wish you well." There's also a song, which is right there under the wish you well words. It says, "We wish you well, we wish you well, all through the day today, we wish you well." So it's wonderful to always incorporate music as much as you can. This is something that I did in the mornings at circle time when we would check to see who's here and who's not. Sometimes I knew that maybe little Sarah, her mom called in that morning and told us she had a fever, wasn't feeling well, so I would tell the class. I'd put Sarah's picture there in the middle of the heart and tell everybody, "Guys, Sarah's not feeling well today. Her mommy told me she has a fever. Let's wish her well," and we would sing her the song. So how do you think Sarah would feel the next day when she came back to school and saw that her picture was inside of the heart? She would feel special and recognized, and the kids might even ask her, "Sarah, we missed you yesterday. Where were you? Or what happened? Are you feeling better?" All of that creates that connection, which is creating that school family that we want. You can also, like they did here, put the teachers, maybe the teacher and assistant teachers' pictures there, because sometimes the teachers are absent, right? We're trying to incorporate that whole school family in there.
Carolina, can I have a quick,
of course.
Or really, I think it's clarification. So someone
Okay.
asked, if rituals equal connections and trust, what is it that routine equals again?
Routine, I'll go back to that slide. Routines are going to give us that predictability. So it's a safe thing for students to be able to see and know what happens throughout their day, right? So you have that visual schedule, for example, and you know you have a child who's new to your class, and you show them that schedule, and as each part of the day progresses, maybe it can be their job to turn over that part of the day that has ended, and they can see that after nap time, mommy will come. That helps that predictability. It helps them regulate their internal clocks because they typically can't tell time at that age. So that's what our routines do. Our routines are really about predictability and consistency. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So all of this boils down to connection, right? Connection is what makes children feel important. And when you tune into your children, it gives them that message that they matter, that they are loved, that they are worth your time, and therefore connection increases children's self-esteem. The ingredients for connection are going to always be eye contact, touch, presence, and that doesn't mean like standing next to your child and saying hi while you're looking at your cell phone. It really means that cell phone is put away, you're engaging with your child, hopefully bending down to their eye level, and then playful situations. So all of those together are going to be those ingredients for connection that we're looking for. In this next video, you're going to see that this is true for all ages and stages of life. If you're near tissue or Kleenex, you may want to grab one. For some of the attendees, this can be a little bit of a tearjerker. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed that video. It's a really beautiful video to really illustrate the importance of those I love you rituals. That I love you ritual in particular, the twinkle, twinkle, little star, what a wonderful child you are. That is also found in that book. Again, anything you look up, if you put into YouTube, I love you rituals, you'll see a bunch of different ones with examples of how to sing them and ways that they are used in the classroom, etc. So super important. Those children who you saw doing it, facing each other, holding hands, or singing the song to each other while making eye contact, there's a really good chance that those children, after having those type of bonding moments day after day, are most likely not going to be bullying each other, right? They're going to be treating each other with kindness and caring. There's of course going to be moments of conflict, no doubt. But as far as like real intense bullying, that's most likely not going to happen if they've shared some of these rituals. All right, so as we move on from rituals, we're going to talk a little bit about emotional literacy. So the first step to developing empathy, which is what we want all of our children to develop, is emotional literacy, or the ability to read or recognize your own emotions and the emotions of others so that you can figure out what they're feeling. Children with a strong foundation in emotional literacy will tend to tolerate frustration better, get into fewer fights, engage in less destructive behavior. They're healthier, less lonely, less impulsive, more focused, and tend to have greater academic achievement. And that list right there is something that we all want of all of our students and our own children, right? So emotional literacy, we want to help our children identify feelings by discussing emotions when they occur. So if a child is angry, you're going to say, you're just noticing what you see. I see that you're angry, your arms are crossed and you're stomping your feet, right? It's important to be able to name it so that you can tame it. Another tool is to role play times when specific emotions surface. So maybe you come in from outside, everybody sits down at circle and you tell the kids, hey, I noticed outside, this particular thing happened, and you go through and role play. And how would it make you feel if you weren't allowed to play in the game? Would you be sad like Johnny was? So having those conversations and those role play times really help with talking about some specific emotions, and then using novel examples as well as recent experiences for the child. Characteristics of classrooms that foster emotional literacy. So these are some of the things I would want to see in your classroom. Books about feelings that are read out loud and available in the Story Center. Photos of people with various emotional expressions displayed throughout the class. Ideally, these would be pictures of your students that you could have so that they recognize themselves and see their friends making these different emotional expressions. Teachers labeling their own feelings throughout the day, right? We are trying to make sure that these children know it is okay to feel things. It's okay to be frustrated. You can say, wow, guys, I had a really awesome idea for what we were going to do outside today, and I'm so angry that it's raining and we can't do it. And then tell them, but you know what? I'm going to take 3 deep breaths. I'm going to be a star, and we're going to try and do it tomorrow. Hopefully the sun will be out. So you're really modeling and labeling your own feelings throughout the day. Teachers notice and label children's feelings. Activities are planned to teach and reinforce emotional literacy. And children are praised and reinforced for using those feeling words. So if a child tells you, I'm angry, you really want to praise that, because instead they could be throwing a toy across the room or punching little Johnny in the face. But because they use their words to describe that, all that praise is going to reinforce, I'm so happy you're telling me that you're angry. That way I can help you. Let's figure out what we can do. And these efforts need to occur daily. It is very important that we do not look at this as like a week-long unit that we're covering, right? This is something that's occurring daily in your classroom for the entire year as a part of every unit that you cover, because emotional literacy is that important. We want to also plan for some of those strong feelings. So we want to give children tools and teach them how and when to use them, such as a stress ball or some of the tools you're going to see coming up in a minute. You're going to encourage them to use a phrase that they can have to remove themselves from a stressful or upsetting situation. So before they have a meltdown and lose it, they may say, I need to go to the safe place. And then they can walk over there and have you as the teacher come and help them. That phrase will give them and those children a way to politely excuse themselves, regain control of themselves, and then return back to the situation. And then you want to have a quiet place for children to take a break when they're angry or sad. And that could be something like a safe place, cozy corner, a quiet corner. And I want you to think of a safe place as a self-regulation center. So a center that is absolutely just as important as any other center in your classroom. Children would use some of these research-based and developmentally appropriate tools and strategies to change their inner state from upset to composed. And only in that composed state can children access those higher brain functions that they need to problem solve and learn. So I want to be very clear. Here you have some examples of safe places or cozy corners, however you want to name it. This is not a place for timeout. This is not a timeout spot. It is very important that you realize that timeout is ideally no longer used, okay? We want to try to get a safe place which uses some of these times of upset as teaching moments so children can practice that active calming that we've been talking about. Maybe it's circle time or throughout the day. As you can see in each of these safe place examples, we have feeling buddies, which we'll talk about in a minute. We have the different calm down strategies, the pretzel, the drain, the star, etc. So those are the things, soft, fluffy toys that they can squeeze if they're frustrated. Those are the things you want to have in a safe place. And it's really important that that safe place is for one child to go into at a time with their teacher, okay? So the teacher is guiding them through how to use that place as a place to change that internal emotion that they're having. And then eventually, as they get used to using the different things in the safe place, they can go in there on their own when they know that they need that time to themselves. So timeout seeks to punish. It's rooted in using external force to govern behavior and removal to try to motivate children to behave. But the safe place is the opposite. So it changes, it uses those times of upset as teachable moments so that children can practice those active calming techniques with the teacher coaching them through it. Here I mentioned feeling buddies. This is the big thing of name it so that you can tame it. If you have this chart, you can see there's a bunch of different emotions. Now, if you have older kids, this may work, but with the younger kids, 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, even some 3-year-olds, it might be better to just use the top half of the chart, angry, scared, sad, and happy, until they're really able to comprehend things like frustrated or anxious, right? These are things that you would review at circle time, that you would be pointing out constantly, and then you would have them in your safe place to discuss. Here, I'm going to show you a video about a teacher and how she kind of coaches her student through the safe place so you can get an idea of what that's like. Okay, so in that video, you were able to see a little bit of how a teacher guides a child in the safe place. So these particular classrooms had the feeling buddies, which are those same images that I showed you with just the little poster, except for that these are actually tangible things that they can hold. They're squishy and soft and velvety, and their faces each have the expression that you're trying to teach. So they're able to really see those emotions and know that it's okay to feel angry. I'm here with you, breathe with me. So those are all really important techniques on how to kind of calm a child down and reassure that it's okay for them to have those feelings. It's just a matter of how you express them. So here we have some of the tools that we've discussed today in this webinar that you can add to your toolbox fairly easily. I think I tried to choose things that were fairly easy to implement. Up here, we've got the safe space. And again, if you like to call it something different, a cozy corner, anything like that is completely fine. We've got the feeling buddies, the wish you well board, the greeting apron, the kindness tree. We have the ACT or the ACT to teach cooperation. The A stands for acknowledge, the C stands for communication, and the T stands for target. We have the DIY breathing tool with the rose and the pinwheel. We have the 4 breathing icons, the star, the drain, the pretzel, the balloon, the I love you rituals, and then we've got the time machine. So please type into the chat box, which one of these items do you feel that you could possibly implement in your classroom or in your home as soon as possible? Are there any of these that you feel that you could maybe implement? And then Adrian can maybe read some of those out. Adrian, I can't hear you.
I just turned it on. I just had an answer come in. One is the balloon. Someone said that they could use the balloon technique. The safe balloon and the drain.
Wonderful.
And the safe space. A lot of people want to use the safe space. And the how do you feel faces.
Awesome. Yeah, so sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. There's a lot of options, but if you can just kind of focus on one, it makes all the difference. And then you can maybe bring another one in when you feel you're ready. I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Adrian?
Well, they're just saying the balloon and the drain, wish you well, greeting apron, safe space.
Okay. Awesome. Wonderful. So here I just wanted to include this quote so that you can always remember that students who are loved at home come to school to learn, and students who aren't come to school to be loved. So just try to keep this in mind. I know some of the students that we have in our class are incredibly challenging and it can feel like they're difficult to love, but really try to see the positive in there and look at them as little beings that are coming to school to be loved, and they just don't have the appropriate ways to express themselves, and so you can teach them how to do so. If there are any questions or things that I didn't cover, we don't have a lot of time left, but again, you guys can always email me and I can send you activities or different strategies or resources that I may have that I can help to answer some of those questions as well.
There aren't any new questions or anything.
Okay. So here are some of the resources. Again, I've included here the Conscious Discipline website. It is phenomenal, but YouTube is also another way for you to look up any of those different things that I posted up there, or some of those tools for the toolbox. You can get onto YouTube and really see how they're being used in classrooms. You can always reach out to me. I've got my email right here. My name is Carolina White. My email is cwhite@elcbroward.org. Feel free to take a screenshot of that. Email me anytime. I'm happy to send you a bunch of resources, or I can give you my cell phone and we can talk. I can help you, walk you through some different strategies if you're interested. I'm definitely here and open and available for all of you. I want to say thank you so much for taking this time out this evening to come and be here with me. I realize that you have many other things that you could be doing, out of work hours, but I am so thankful that you came and participated in this webinar. And yeah, that's it. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I will leave this up for a little bit longer in case there are any questions, or if you would like to download those handouts. There's 3 in there and they were very useful. So again, if you are unable to download something, please feel free to email me. Right here, again, is my email, and I can definitely send those handouts to you. Just shoot me an email, let me know that you participated in this training and you would like me to send you the handouts. Adrian, is there anything else?
There is nothing else. Everyone is saying thank you. They enjoyed the webinar. It's so helpful. They enjoyed all the information and they want to retrain their teachers. And they really enjoyed it. And I'd just like to say thank you so much for the participation, Carolina. You had really good participation today from your audience.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Yes, we really appreciate it. It's very difficult to transition from doing our live trainings that are so full of participation to basically speaking out into the universe and not having anyone talk back to you.
Right. And someone just asked if there will be more trainings like this. You can go to the ELC webpage and look at the training calendar, and there are tons of trainings that we offer. They won't all be on the conscious discipline side, but there'll be some on behavior. There are many, many different topics. So just make sure that you go to the ELC website and look at the training calendar and choose from there.
Absolutely. I definitely recommend taking advantage of all of these trainings that our whole team is putting up. They're excellent, full of lots of information, and a great way to use some of this quarantine time.
Yes. And yes, there will be trainings in August as well.
Okay, so I'll give it about another minute or so, and then we can log out. Okay, Adrian, I think most people have left, so we can go ahead and log out. Thank you again to everybody who's still on. We really appreciate your time. Adrian, thank you so much for manning the chat or questions box for me.
Okay.
And I will end the webinar.
Let me say this really quick. I just got a question from Nikita Drayton. Nikita, could you please email Carolina White at CWhite? Her email address is right here on this last slide. If you could please email her and she can email you those handouts.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Nikita.
Thank you again. Do you want me to stay on a little longer? Do you feel like there's some
No,
more?
I think that's it. I think she has it.
Okay.
She has an email address and we can go ahead and log out. Have a good evening.
Have a great one, everybody. Thank you. Bye, Adrian. Thank you so much.
Bye, Carolina. You're welcome. Bye.